So with our system, there's essentially three main components. You're going to have your zoning panel. So whichever panel you guys decide to go with, we typically recommend our Heat Pump Pro as our go-to panel for anything 4 zones or less. This will work for any piece of equipment, so any 24-volt controlled piece of equipment out there, from single stage all the way through dual fuel applications. And it'll be able to do that for you guys with just a single stage heat cool thermostat. So other than that, you guys are going to need dampers. So either our easy slide dampers, or if you guys have an internal mount application that you need, then like the Inserta damper, Reggie damper, the Easy Fit would work for that as well. And we do a specific webinar completely on the dampers and the differences and when to use what damper for what application as well. And then you're just going to need our tubing and then our regular T fittings if you guys are doing branch dampers, or typically you don't need any fittings at all if you guys are doing trunk. So with our panels, they're all going to come with a plug-in style transformer, and this is going to power up your panel, and it's also going to supply power to each of your thermostats in that system as well. So typically any 4-zone or under panel is going to ship with a plug-in 40 VA transformer, and that's going to supply that voltage for you. And it also does have a built-in auto resetting fuse. So if you guys have a short in the system, it'll actually drop your secondary voltage out of the transformer and prevent any damage to the equipment or the Heat Pump Pro or whatever zoning panel you have. Also, for added protection in the panel is a built-in 2-amp fuse as well. So it's, built rugged, built for you guys for it to last and protect your equipment as well as the panel itself. Once the short is fixed as well, that transformer auto resets, so there's no button or anything like that. As far as your thermostat options, with all of our panels, you can use whatever brand you guys are familiar with. So you don't have to buy directly from us as far as thermostats. Really, whatever you guys are comfortable with in the field. If you guys are doing our AirBoss MPS panel, anything like that, you're going to want to match the application to the thermostat. So if you guys are doing a geothermal or a heat pump application, make sure you're using heat pump thermostats with those panels. If you guys are doing our Heat Pump Pro panel, you can use just single stage heat cool stats. Anything you guys are familiar with, if it be Wi-Fi, wireless, smart thermostats, if you got a customer that likes Nest or something like that, you can use that as well. The only thing that we recommend if you guys are doing like a Nest or an Ecobee, if you don't have a common wire, make sure you run a common wire. Don't use a wire saving kit. They will cause some issues with zoning panels in general. So if you guys are doing that, you're going to want to do either a wireless stat with a module if you can't run the wires, or any kind of wireless stat would work as well. With the Nest though, the only option they give you is that wire saver, so don't use that. Make sure you have that common wire. And one of the things that kind of sets us apart from other zoning manufacturers out there is the way that we design our systems for zoning. So your traditional zoning is you're going to split your system up into main trunk lines, and that's going to supply each of your zones. So if this was an existing home, it becomes really expensive to redo that ductwork for zoning. In a new construction atmosphere, works pretty well. You can still do this. And we do make dampers that would assemble for trunk as well. But what really sets us apart is being able to zone those homes without redoing the ductwork completely. So essentially, you guys can zone off each of the individual branch runs in the home. So each of your supply runs can essentially get a damper. So there's no redoing the ductwork. There's no adding new trunk lines. Really quick, really easy installation. And the really nice part is you can mix and match any of our dampers together. So if you guys have a mix of trunk and branch, some internal mount dampers, all of those can be added to the system. You don't need any extra transformers or anything, and we're able to support up to 35 dampers on one panel. If you guys ever have a case where you're going to do more than that 35 dampers out there, we can build a custom panel that would be able to do up to 70 dampers. Just give us a call at tech support if that's something that you guys need. This is just a brief diagram here on how you would actually run the tubing for our zoning panels. If you look there, there's a green, pink, and yellow tube leaving the panel in the middle there. If you follow the yellow one, it goes directly to a trunk damper. So it's going to be your typical application for a trunk. It'll leave the panel, go directly to that damper. If you may have 2 dampers, so 2 trunk dampers on that run, it would just get teed in with the other trunk damper. So essentially, the easiest way to do it is just take your tubing, go all the way to the furthest damper and connect that tubing. And then from there, you're going to cut in your T, staple your line up, and run that to the damper in line. Just essentially work your way back from there, cutting your T's in and connecting your dampers. It's really that easy. They're barbed fittings. You just push the tubing on it and you're good to go. So really quick installation. Typical install time with about 2 guys that are, familiar with it. You can usually do a job in about a day. So it's pretty quick. Some will be less than that if they're smaller jobs. Some will be a little bit larger. So you'll have to kind of play that by ear and how you guys work as well. Then as far as our dampers, we offer a number of different dampers, but our most common is going to be our easy slide dampers. So these are going to come in round or trunk. They come in 4-inch to 16-inch on your round size and 4 to 48 on your rectangle. And then we do offer custom sizes as well. So if you guys have an oddball configuration, you got odd ductwork, oval, something like that, give us a call. We can actually make those dampers as well, and typically get them out within 24 hours of the lead time as well. They're all going to have a 3/4-inch gasketed seal, so they're 100% closure on the dampers themselves. Like I said, if you guys want to get more into the dampers, we offer a specific webinar on those as well, which will get into the insertable dampers, what they're used for, and how to run the tubing in that as well. Then they're all made right here in the USA. We're based right out of Cleveland, Ohio. With the zoning, you're going to need our tubing. It's going to come in 8 different colors. If you guys don't know, the AirBoss 8 zone is our largest panel. So we essentially offer 1 color per zone, and that just makes it easier for service techs when they go back to figure out what damper is on what specific zone in that system. Really inexpensive, a lot cheaper than running low voltage wire. It comes in rolls of 200 feet. So a lot of tubing there, you can do a lot of jobs with just 1 roll. And you don't necessarily have to run, a different color per zone. That's up to you guys. But it does make it easier for troubleshooting. As far as our dampers go, their normal position is about a 45-degree angle in the ductwork. So they are open in the ductwork. So if you guys are doing humidifiers and you want blower activation, typically we recommend ignoring our panel completely. It'll blow through that whole system and humidify that whole home when there's no call on the panel, and then it'll just close the opposing zones when there is a call and continue to humidify only the areas that are calling. They are pressure closed and vacuum open, and our minimum operating pressures is -35 inches of water column to open and +40 to close. Then to make that work, every panel that we offer is all going to have the same pump. It was originally designed to be a kidney dialysis pump. So it's a really reliable pump. And this is actually a 24-volt AC pump. It's going to run anytime there's a call on the panel for conditioning, and it's going to supply that vacuum or pressure to your solenoids, which will send that to your damper itself. So either opening or closing those dampers. Then along with that is our solenoids. So you'll have one of these per zone. These are what is actually going to either send the vacuum or pressure to your damper. So if there is a call on the system for conditioning, it's actually going to open the vacuum side of the solenoid to your dampers and open the dampers. And if you guys do get into ever troubleshooting these, we do a webinar on that as well. But just remember, the wires are non-polarity sensitive. So it doesn't matter which wire you have on what terminal, just that it's on the correct number. So on every board, you're going to have a plus, which will be your common, and then a number per solenoid. Just make sure they line up to the number on the panel. Other than that, it's 24 volts DC to close dampers and 0 volts DC to open. So very simple, really reliable solenoid. And this here is just kind of a picture of the inside of the panel box. So you guys can take a look at the bottom there. The pump is in the bottom white piece there. It says the 24 volt VAC written on it. The pump wires are going to go to the pump terminal on the board, and then you're going to see that there's a pressure and vacuum tube that leave the pump, and each of those are going to go into the solenoids themselves. And then it depends on the call whether it's going to be open to the vacuum or pressure side of that pump. Then why do we use air? Essentially, it's just due to reliability. The first thing to fail on most of your motorized systems out there is going to be that damper motor. And getting away from not having those motors, our dampers are very reliable. There's absolutely no noise on the damper at all because there is no motor. And then it gives you a lot more flexibility on installation. You can mix and match these dampers. You don't have to worry about additional transformers or additional components. Everything that comes with that panel In your dampers, you install it. There's no additional accessories that you need. So it's a pretty easy design system. If you guys do need tech support, we are available 7 days a week, 2 technicians. It's 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. Our regular office hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And I appreciate you guys taking the time out. Thanks.